You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
Hell no. It was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans, Jodeci, Mary J. Blige. They didn't know nothing about this.
I wasn't after fame. I wasn't after wealth. Yet I found myself crossing the threshold of one of the most disturbing places I could have ever imagined. At first, everything seemed simple. Serve drinks, handle security, clean up after the parties. No glamour, just a job like any other. But then I stepped into that mansion and everything changed. The house wasn't just big, it was a monster. Enormous. Yet there was something even more terrifying that made you feel small. The atmosphere was heavy, like the place itself was judging you. I couldn't shake the feeling that something sick was hidden behind the facade of luxury and power. The silence inside that house was surreal. It wasn't normal silence, it was deep, oppressive, as if the walls were holding something back. The corridors seemed endless, with statues and artworks that weren't meant to decorate but to instill fear. There was something beneath the surface, something that made me uneasy, as if all those luxuries were hiding a dark secret. What was really hidden in that mansion? Who was Diddy really? Every corner seemed to tell a story of power and secrets, but no one dared to speak. This place, this person, wasn't just about wealth and fame. There was something dark, something that should never have been revealed. Get ready, because the truth might be more terrifying than you imagine. From the moment I arrived, they immediately laid down the rules. Don't go near certain areas, never question the boundaries, and above all, never go near the basement door. That door, always locked, was a mystery no one dared challenge. No one ever explained why it was forbidden, but it was clear. These were the rules. No questions, no discussion. But there was something truly strange about all this. No one ever talked about it, not even the staff or the guests. Every time someone dared mention that door, the conversation instantly shifted. When I asked for explanations, the answers were vague, evasive, almost as if I had witnessed something I shouldn't have seen. There was a heavy silence, an invisible presence hanging in the air. The question that haunted me was, why this fear of talking about that door? Then I understood. It wasn't just about respecting the house rules, but respecting a much darker and more powerful system. An invisible system that forced everyone to remain silent. A system that controlled everything. The fear in the air wasn't normal. It was like someone or something was watching, monitoring, and probably controlling every move I made. What's behind that door? Every day, my curiosity grew, but at the same time, my fear of uncovering the truth grew as well. What if that door hid something truly dangerous? Soon, I would have the answer. Every time I found myself at the parties, something mysterious was happening. Disappearances were frequent, and they weren't like the usual ones. Celebrities, influential guests, powerful figures in the industry. They would vanish, only to return hours later. But they weren't the same. They seemed changed, cold, detached. Their eyes, empty. It was as if they had seen something they should never have seen. What happened in those hours of darkness? Where did they go? The answers were too unsettling to be true. These weren't simple changes, they were transformations. They came back with a cold, detached air. They didn't seem like the same people, as if they had been taken to a place no one should have seen. The more I saw, the more I understood that something was deeply wrong. The mansion wasn't just a luxury house, but a gilded cage, a place where unspeakable secrets were hidden, secrets no one was supposed to discover. They were too dark to be revealed, yet they kept happening. But who was really controlling everything? The truth, I realized, was that behind those wild parties lay a dark power, a deadly game of manipulation, corruption, and fear. The disappearances weren't accidents. Every time someone vanished, there was a reason. and every time they returned, changed, it seemed like a part of their soul had been stolen. What were they doing to these people? That world of luxury and fame was hiding something that should have remained buried forever. And the more I tried to understand, the more I realized I was risking discovering a truth I was never meant to know. The basement door opens. It was an ordinary night, but something was about to change. The mansion was empty, the music long gone, and the last guests had finally left. I had been assigned to clean the main floor when I noticed something that froze my blood. There, by the basement door, was Diddy. He wasn't alone, he had a small group of people with him. They were speaking in hushed tones, but there was a tension in the air I couldn't ignore. The tone of their words was clear. They were talking about something serious, something that shouldn't have been heard, something that screamed secret. Then Diddy made a gesture. One of his security guards slowly approached the door and turned the key. The sound of metal against iron sliced through the air as the door creaked open. Behind it was a narrow staircase descending into total darkness. Without thinking, Diddy and his group started down, disappearing into the shadows. The door that had always been closed, forbidden, was now open. But what was down there? What secrets had they been trying to protect? The truth could be more terrifying than you could imagine. I stood frozen, my heart pounding in my chest. The basement door was wide open and they were down there, hidden, waiting. I didn't understand what was happening, but something told me I would never see reality the same way again. Then, I heard it. A muffled sound, but it wasn't the music I knew. No, it was distorted, warped, as if someone was manipulating it with dark intentions. Every note was a blow to my balance, a call that gripped me and wouldn't let go. The sound didn't come from anywhere familiar. It was as if it came from another dimension, from a place that should never have existed. That deep vibrating noise pierced my bones, and in that moment, I understood. I had to discover what was happening, what was really hiding in that basement. I had no idea what I would find, but one thing was clear. What awaited me would change everything, and I would never be the same. I couldn't resist. When the last guest had left, I snuck toward the basement door, unable to ignore the dark feeling that was overtaking me. The door was slightly ajar, just enough to slip in without being seen. There was something in the dark calling to me, and I couldn't ignore it. My heart was pounding in my chest as I got closer. The air was cold, thick with a nauseating smell of moldy wood and something metallic. Maybe blood? I couldn't be sure, but the feeling was overwhelming. With each step, the silence grew heavier, as if the darkness itself was trying to swallow me. Then a shiver. With every step I took, it felt like the darkness became thicker, more alive. My footsteps echoed, but there was something more. Whispers. Tiny voices emerging from nowhere, as if the walls themselves were breathing. There was something real behind those sounds, something I couldn't understand. As I moved deeper into the tunnel, the energy in the air shifted. The corridor seemed to pulse as if it had a life of its own, a will. The whispers grew louder, clearer, until one word stood out among them, like a scream in the silence. Sacrifice. It paralyzed me. What did it mean? I had never believed in blood and sacrifice stories, but in that moment, in the darkness of that basement, everything seemed possible. That word, sacrifice, wasn't just an echo in the dark. It was a threat. It was proof I had just crossed a threshold no one should have crossed. But what were they trying to say? That tunnel, that sense of death in the air, couldn't just be my imagination. Something darker, something more dangerous was waking up. And now I could do nothing but continue, too scared to stop, too curious to turn back. Finally, I found the door. It seemed ordinary, but something was pushing me to enter. The door was slightly ajar, but the eerie flicker of candles on the other side called to me. My heart was racing, but my legs moved on their own, as if someone else had taken control. I opened the door and stepped inside. The room was dark, lit only by the candles. In the center, a wooden table covered with things I should never have seen. Old books, disturbing statues and photos. But these photos, and they weren't from public events. No, they were private images, stolen shots, moments telling dark stories. And then, The faces. Famous, the music industry, show business. But there was nothing glamorous about these images. They were faces filled with fear, distorted by an unsettling, unspoken truth. I shuddered. Why did those faces seem to warn me? Sitting around the table, there was a group of people. Their gazes were cold, the silence hovering in their circle, suffocating. Diddy was among them, and I could hear fragments of their words that made my blood freeze. Control, loyalty, power. They were talking about keeping their secrets hidden, about eliminating any threat to their system. Then, like a punch to the stomach, one sentence pierced the air. Sometimes sacrifices are necessary to protect the circle. Sacrifices. What was I hearing? Every word I heard seemed to bring me closer to a truth I didn't want to discover. I realized that the door I had just crossed would never be closed again. And now, something terrible was just a step away. It was no longer just curiosity. It was about survival. And the circle was closing in. The world I knew was crumbling beneath my feet, and I could no longer pretend I didn't see it. The whispered voices behind closed doors, the strange and unsettling behaviors, the cryptic messages I could no longer ignore. Everything was falling into place, but I wished I didn't understand. The mansion, that palace of luxury, wasn't just a symbol of wealth. It was the center of something much darker, a dangerous game with rules I never wanted to learn. Every day, the weight of paranoia grew. Were they watching me? What did they know about me? The phone calls became more frequent, always in the middle of the night. No voice, just breathing. Deep, heavy breaths, full of threats, a terror I couldn't ignore. Then, one morning, a note appeared under my door. Anyone who sees too much becomes part of the secret. Now there was no doubt. I had seen too much, and someone knew it. I was trapped. But what would happen now? The game had just begun. What was really hiding behind that welcoming smile? The secret was trying to destroy me, and there was no escape. The fear was consuming me. It was everywhere, in every breath, every step. The feeling of being watched never left me for a second. Like every corner of the mansion hid a deadly secret. Every whisper behind a door was a threat. The invisible weight of something dark pressed down on me. The mansion, its mysteries, the faces that slipped away from my sight. It was all too much. I had to run, and I had to do it now. But paranoia never left me. It was like a shadow, invisible but there. I felt watched, studied, like every move I made was being recorded by unseen eyes. The hidden camera I knew was there, ready to record every move. They were watching, waiting for the right moment to silence me. And then it became clear there was no time left. I wasn't safe anymore. Every closed door was another danger lurking. Every step I took pulled me further from freedom. The truth behind that mansion, those secrets they wanted hidden, I should never have known. My only option was to run, and fear pushed me to run.